I'm going not to say yes. I'm going to say I'm going to see what the situation is, and I want you to understand why I say that. If what is tied to it is the defunding of medical care for the needy entirely, if the price, in other words, is to defund an appropriation bill for all of Medicaid, then that's a very different question. If it is only the additional amount, so I'd have to be honest with you and say it depends how it comes up. And if it's not against the rules and I don't get thrown out, Chuck DeVore is right. At the state level, I couldn't find a way to balance the budget last year, in May, and I thought that, as I was running for governor then, and I thought I should be honest and give you the numbers, so I had a $3 cut in spending for every $1 in a temporary increase in the gas tax. And you can disagree with me, and Lord knows I can be wrong, but that was the state. And I am running for the United States Senate, and I have never supported a tax increase on the budget side as a way of solving the budget in the federal area. And the reason is, it's 40 times the size of the state. The waste is huge. The expenditure is huge. The way to curb the federal budget is to curb the rate of growth. And you can check my record for 9 years in the United States House.
Jenny, David, and it's really been a pleasure to hear both of you. I hear this pretty frequently, that a white Republican male can't win in California. So my question's for both of you. What is your strategy to win over independents and moderate Democrats?
Well, first of all, we've heard this not only from the pundits, but our absent person here tonight said that as well. And I know that it will come as a great shock to Matt Fong that he is a white Republican male and a conservative, because he's more on the moderate side. So Barbara Boxer is a tough campaigner. And even though all three of us have been in the margin of error, now 5 independent polls since January, make no mistake, the Democrats, the unions, the liberals are going to throw the kitchen sink at us on this. In fact, President Obama himself is coming out to raise money for Barbara Boxer in a week. Yeah? So he's going to bring his reverse Midas touch out. Now, here's what I think the key is. Here's the key. It's what that great philosopher, that great political philosopher, Woody Allen said. 80% of life is just showing up. You got to show up and you got to talk to people. A few months ago, I was the only Republican speaking at the 100th anniversary political breakfast of the NAACP. 10 people speaking. I spoke just before Jerry Brown. And when I was done speaking, talking about how modern nuclear energy can jumpstart our economy and create good-paying jobs with reliable, affordable electricity, the head of the NAACP for the state looks around the crowd and she said, "That was one courageous and gutsy speech." And then she did this. "And I don't see Barbara Boxer anywhere in sight." Now, I'm not under the misapprehension that showing up at one NAACP convention is going to make the difference. But I was there, as were 9 other Democrats. And I think it's important that you show up. The Tea Party movement is also composed largely of people who are people 30 years ago that we would have called Reagan Democrats. A lot of decline to state, libertarians, and Republicans.
Senator Barbara Boxer, 412. I win. The economy is so fundamental. Every poll supports that. You and I know it's true. I don't know a family in California that doesn't have a family member or a friend who's out of work, who isn't out of work. It's that bad. Everybody knows somebody who's out of work. It is never before in my lifetime has it been so fundamentally controlling the popular debate. And Senator Boxer may have had a time of distinguishing people on the basis of their race and gender, but I want you to know something about me, which doesn't oftentimes get mentioned, but I'm proud of it. I was one of the strongest original sponsors of Proposition 209, because I can't stand this business of separating us on the basis of our race and the basis of our gender. And when Barbara Boxer does that, she's increasing the attention to that. Yes. We are Americans. We are Californians. And what our gender is and what our race is not relevant to the issue of what we are entitled to in our individual liberties or what we can expect from our government. And let her go on and talk about the importance of emphasizing race and emphasizing gender. I'll emphasize the fundamental truth that the Constitution is colorblind. The Constitution doesn't make distinctions on the basis of gender.
Dave Proctor from Santa Rosa. Social Security is filled with IOUs, $4 trillion plus from other government agencies. There is no money in Social Security. One could argue we've never balanced the budget because ever since '65 we've been robbing Social Security. Do you have the guts to do what's necessary, perhaps raise the age, means test it out?
The answer is I have the guts to do what's necessary, and I'm going to tell you how to do it. In 1983 we had the same...
He's absolutely right. There is really no Social Security trust fund because it does get completely rolled into the overall budget deficit. That's how we've been financing our deficit for years. Now here's the challenge with trying to do a repeat of what we did in 1983. It is a basic fact that there are dramatic demographic differences in actuarial lifespans for men and women, for people who are Caucasian and Latino and Asian and African American. That's a fact. And as a result, it will be extremely difficult to raise the retirement age again, because if you do, certain demographic groups won't get anything at all. And so what you have to do is you have to begin to personalize Social Security. The Supreme Court actually ruled in the 1930s that it was not, in fact, a retirement plan. It was just another government way of redistributing wealth. We need to get back to a model where the money that you pay in is actually your money and that you could actually pass it on to your kids if you live frugally. This is a model that we see in Chile. This is a model that President Bush, to his credit, actually tried to implement in 2005. And I think this is the only way we can go to long-term viability for this program. Because if it's a government program, your government representatives will rate it to pay for continuing appropriations, to pay for needs today. And we're already seeing that generational theft in spades with that some $86 trillion unfunded liability with both Social Security and Medicare. So I think the only way we can fix it is by having this government program operate a little more like private pension systems and not like a simple government mechanism to redistribute wealth, which is what it turned into.
Colton Smith, Mill Valley. This is kind of a follow-up on this kind of a topic. I was rather disappointed when you were talking about dealing with the budget issue in the state of California, in that you avoided talking about what I think is the most important of all the issues. These extravagant public employee benefit packages, pay packages, and the fact that the public employee unions are bankrupting the state of California. And that we have, if we do not curtail these benefit packages, I mean cut them down, we have no future in the state of California. And I'd like to know what you would do to cut those programs. And I mean what you would actually do to cut those programs to the point where they're affordable to the rest of us.
Well, let me begin by saying a great question. But unlike Tom Campbell, I had never run for governor before, and what you're asking is a question for someone running for governor or for the state legislature. I'm running for the U.S. Senate, and I believe very strongly in the 10th Amendment. So the question that you ask is completely valid, but as a federal U.S. Senator, I have no bearing on it whatsoever. If you want to know who created this problem, look no further than the person who is seeking to be recycled into the governor's office of the state of California. Because it's Jerry Brown that changed our system from a civil servant system to a public sector union system in the 1970s. He's the one that signed the law that made that happen. And contrary to popular myth, even though Carly Fiorina believes it, it's not true. States cannot declare bankruptcy. That does not exist in the federal bankruptcy code. And what that means very seriously is there's no way we can walk away from the obligation that we have now incurred to existing state employees. Because if we go technically bankrupt, what happens is the government just takes your money. They're no longer bankrupt, you are. That's how it works. Okay, so what we need to do is for future employees, and again, this is a state, not a federal issue, we need to have not a defined benefit plan, but a defined contribution plan. It's called a 401k.